All right, everybody, let's get this meeting going. It is 6:30. So that is your call to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ingram. Locke.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
Michaels. Pugh. Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers.
Present.
Sexton. Storr.
Present.
Straub.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Thorsland. Vanich Theronot.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Carter. Cowart. Esri. Varney.
Here.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Patterson.
Thank you, Clerk. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Straub and Ed. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Agenda passes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of September 12th, 2023, our regular meeting? I have Diane and then I have JJ. Is there any discussion? JJ?
Yeah, I've got a couple of corrections. Line 13, I was here at that meeting, so I should be listed after Mr. Esri. And then on line 70, I made the motion to appoint Mr. Buss, and Mr. Esri seconded that.
Very good eye for detail, sir. Thank you. Is that it?
That's everything I had.
If you could just make a note, Megan, that would be great, and get those changed. With those changes, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes pass. Thank you. Now we have public participation. I only have one notice up here for Leslie Erdman. Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. And I know Judge Rosenbaum has gone over the court clerk wage increases with you, so I won't belabor too much of the background. But the point is, we're here supporting him in his request for increases for some of the clerks in order to kind of attract new qualified people into positions. They've been required to pay more than the minimum for our pay range, and that has unfortunately led to a situation where some of the clerks are making a lot less than people who have been working there for a year, 2 years, a month. And we're just asking for a slight increase in order to bring that into better balance and to retain the people who have already been there working and who know the job. It's a difficult job to learn because not only do you have to learn your job, you have to learn 10 other people's jobs as well. And it's kind of, sorry, I'm nervous. I don't do public speaking well. It takes you a good month to get just an idea of how your courtroom runs. And it takes exponentially longer to become secure in how your courtroom runs, so you're not asking questions every day. And then to turn around and learn that for 10 other courtrooms as well, it's a serious investment in training, and we're just asking for an increase that acknowledges what we've put into the job. And that's everything I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have any more public participation slips. Moving on to communications. Mike.
Just a notice for those who were around and knew him. Former Champaign County Democratic Party Chair Al Klein passed away over the weekend, and there is no information yet about the memorial, but it will be posted. And I want to make sure I'm getting correct. In lieu of flowers, checks can be sent to the Friends of the Urbana Free Library or the Champaign-Urbana Tenants Union in his name. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, moving on to Justice and Social Services.
Sorry, I have a mouthful of cookie because I forgot I was first.
If we could return to communications for a minute, I just wanted to remind folks that we have the residential electronics collection, household electronics collection this weekend, and there's still time to sign up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stower. I have signed up and I still need to go through all my stuff and figure out what I'm taking. Good reminder. Okay, I have swallowed my cookie. We have the monthly reports that are available on each department's webpage. Probation and Court Services for August 2023, Public Defender for September 2023, Emergency Management Agency for September of 2023, Animal Control June 2023, and the Veterans Assistance Commission 2021 and 2022 annual reports. Item B, we have the Rosecrans Reentry Financial Report for August of this year. That is information only. I do not have any other business. Does anybody else? No? Jeff, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Just a quick comment. Animal Control June 2023, are they just backlogged and they're late on the reports, or any thoughts about that? Or we should let them know that it is beyond June right now. Now October, right?
It is October. I assume just because I don't know why they're backlogged. I assume that they're digging themselves out of that. Michelle, do you have any insight?
Yeah, well, we started the year pretty rough in terms of staffing over there. Things have calmed down. So while they are catching up on the reporting, it is probably one of our busiest departments overall on a day-to-day basis. So being caught up to June is actually, I'm kind of impressed with that. I know they're trying to get the reports more up to date as they go, but again, it's a pretty busy department. So.
Thank you. Is that good for you, Jeff?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have, as I said, we have Rosecrans on other business, and then there's no chair's report, and we have nothing to go on the consent agenda. Thank you.
All right, next we have policy, personnel, and appointments.
Good evening. The monthly HR report is in your packet and on file. Under appointments and reappointments, I'd like to have an omnibus motion for items 2A, B, C, D, and E. Resolution appointing Daniel Knoll to Drainage District Number 2, Town of Scott, and resolution appointing Dennis Bergman to Salt Fork Drainage District, both terms ending August 31st, 2026. Resolution appointing Martha Newton to the Rural Transit Advisory Group, term ending December 31st, 2024. Resolution appointing Mary Lakey to the Yearsley Cemetery Association, and resolution appointing Joseph Marriott to the same Cemetery Association, both terms ending June 30th, 2029. Is there a motion? Diane Michaels, second, Jen Locke, and discussion to the motion. Are you signaling or? No, there's a Okay, all right. No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. A list of the vacant appointments is found on the link. It's mostly drainage and cemetery associations, and we appreciate the volunteer efforts of those folks who serve on those. Thank you. We also have applications for, or open appointments on pages 23 through 29 under the new format. Thank you, Michelle. And we have several appointments, including 21 for the sheriff's office, mostly in corrections, and several in the circuit clerk's office, and juvenile detention center, of course. If you know some good people who would like to work for the county, please pass the word along. The next item is Job Content Evaluation Committee. First, approval of the creation of a senior secretary position in the circuit clerk's office effective October 19th, 2023. Jen Straub, second. Leah Taylor. Boy, I tell you, if anybody finds my little memory, just put it in a little bottle for me. Is there discussion for the job content? This is as I understand it, a reallocation or a change in the type of position. Is that a fair way of putting that? Okay, I get a nod.
It's a change in the position. It's actually a downgrade. So in category. So it's a decrease in the amount of funding we would have to allocate.
Okay, I'd say adjustment, but downgrade is good. Another way of putting it. Is there any discussion for that? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? The motion passes unanimously. Approval of the creation of the case manager position in the circuit court office. And this, my understanding is that this is grant funded. Do we have a motion? Mr. Farney, second by Ms. Taylor. Discussion to the motion. Boy, it's going pretty quick. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Oppose? Motion passes unanimously. Report on monthly fees is found in the packet. I don't have any other business or a chair's report. Designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda, C, D, and E. Also, the job content for the two positions in the circuit clerk's office, 3A and B. Chair Patterson, I think that concludes the policy, personnel, and appointments.
Thanks, Chris. Next, we have finance.
First up, we have a budget amendment, BUA 2023-9490, Fund 2634, Public Defender, Grant Fund, Department 036, Public Defender, increased appropriations, $132,422.41, increased revenue, $132,422.41. Reason, a grant from AOIC to supplement the existing Public Defender's budget. Do I have a motion? Just literally the entire room. I saw Mr. Ingram second, and I saw Ms. Michaels first, and I saw Ms. Michaels second, so I'm going to go with that. I'll say we've discussed this multiple times during the budget process, but we also have the public defender here in case anybody has any questions. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I remembered to ask that time. Budget Amendment BUA 2023-9457, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 031, Circuit Court, increased appropriations $14,089, increased revenue 0, wage adjustments for several court clerks for the remainder of fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion? Ms. Luxon, do I have a second? I saw Ms. Straub, second. I would like to mention we have other presiding judges here. Discussion. Mr. Farney.
So I look at this budget amendment being very similar to the state's attorney's amendment that came before us at our last meeting. And while I appreciate that we need to do these things, I think it is the wrong time to do it. I really personally feel that we shouldn't do any of these, as I would call them, cleanup bills until, we have 90 days after the close of the fiscal year. I think we're doing it too early, doing it in November. We pushed the state's attorney off to November. My suggestion, I would make a motion, is that we move this to the November cow with the state's attorney's amendment at that time as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, we had a very, very similar motion from the state's attorney last month, and we don't, especially on the payouts of the retirements, we usually don't do those until January. So we moved it to November. I don't know why November. That's what we did. Anyway.
So the state's attorneys what had to do with the payout for a retiring person. All right, well, I was going to wait until next year, but I was told that if I was going to do a budget amendment dealing with personnel, that I should do it in one fell swoop. And so if you want to pass that portion of it until November, I'm completely fine with it. But there is a portion that I would like you to consider tonight, and that has to do with the $2,684, which I don't think is the same situation as the state's attorney. Would it be okay to make a brief comment about that?
Certainly.
All right. Leslie is one of our clerks. She's one of our best clerks. I'm going to say she's one of our 3 best clerks because there are 3 clerks here. They work incredibly hard, and the issue, she described it very well. We've lost 2 clerks. One was just about a month ago, and that's the other part of the amendment. But most of our applicants come from the circuit clerk's office because they're very familiar with the system. And for many, many reasons, many of them are making more than our starting salary. And they won't come to us unless we don't give them a pay cut. So I hired 2 people without pay cuts. They wouldn't have taken the job with pay cuts, and I didn't want to go to our second or third choices. And what has happened is, as Leslie described, it's only for a few of our clerks, but some of them who have been here for years are paid less than the ones I just hired because this is what I had to pay them. The union brought this to my attention, AFSCME. They confronted me with some disparities at the low end for several of our clerks. They came to me with a proposal which I thought was infinitely reasonable. And I had a savings between my longtime clerk of 35 years who retired and the new clerk. So I was able to fulfill part of our agreement with the union by doing an MOU. But I didn't have the power to complete that agreement, which the union, I believe, is appropriate. And so I need $7 an hour, basically, to spread out among these several employees. For the remainder of this fiscal year, it would be $2,684. I promised these clerks that I would come to you and ask for this. I'm doing that. I'm trying to fulfill my promise. I think it's appropriate. I don't want to lose these clerks. And if I lose these clerks, I assure you we're going to have the same problem as before. I'm going to end up paying more than what they're getting paid, or even with these raises. And so I'm very concerned about that. So I would just like if we could try to resolve this one now, because we would like this to take effect November 1st and not have to wait until December or January.
Mr. Farney.
Judge Rosenbaum, so it's not clear from your memo. So you've already committed funds above and beyond the 2,684 to make this happen?
Yes.
Or, okay, because that's not in your memo. So that
I needed about
okay.
$13 an hour, something to spread out among several clerks. to make things right. I had about $6.50 an hour or whatever was the difference. I did an MOU with the union, which happens apparently with lots of department heads. So I was able to solve part of the problem, but I need another about $7
So-
an hour, and that's what this is for.
Do you know off the top of your head what the total impact was? Is it more like, are we looking at the total was $25,000, 30? How much was the total amount that you end up expending on this?
I think it was about 6,500 to 7,000.
Okay.
And again, though, that's,
And this includes fringes, I think, the 2,800. It's with the fringes for November and December.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Michaels?
I'd like to make an amendment to the budget amendment here. I'd like to amend that we approve the 2,684, but leave the rest on the table till next month.
Okay. So now we're discussing the amended motion, which is just for 2,684. So I'll express my sort of position as finance chair. I totally do not think it's okay that people that have been here a long time are getting paid less than people in that same position that are getting paid more. And I absolutely think it is something that we have to address. The only issue is, it is not just in the court that is happening. This very similar things are happening in every single department through the county. And so right now, what is happening is the administrative staff is working on a plan to address all of it at once. Because if we do it for the court, then we need to do it for the other offices as well. It's very hard for us to say, well, we did it for this group of employees, but not this group of employees. And I totally recognize if I was one of those employees and I was being told this, I would be upset, right? I would say, well, we figured out our stuff and the other departments haven't figured out their stuff yet. And this is, to be blunt, a very small dollar amount. And if it's what we need to do to maintain the staff we have that do an amazing job, I think that that's something that we should consider. However, I also think we as a board should understand that if we do it for this group, we shouldn't be shocked if tomorrow we have another elected official or department head saying, you fix the problem in the court. I have the exact same problem. And I'll be honest, the problem in some of the other offices is not $2,600. It's a much wider, and I don't know how we say yes to one group and no to another group. So I want to recognize this is a problem. It is a problem the board absolutely has to fix. It is not fair to our employees. And to be frank, we were discussing this a little bit in caucus. There should be a way to systemically address this as it comes up, right? And I think that's one of the things that we need to figure out with this plan. So I just wanted to say that I still think we could vote on the amendment, but I want us as a body to understand that if we do vote yes, and it's a small amount for people that clearly deserve it and do a good job for us and have had service for us, and we have to solve the problem. I just want us to understand that if we are voting on this, if other entities come and we say to them, you have to wait, which we could do. Like, let me just be clear, we could do that, right? And we could say, oh, yours is more, we don't have that money yet, or right, or, the judge worked with the union and came up with this agreement. That, we could say all of those things, but we cannot be shocked if they come and say, what about me? Because that is real, right? That is, we have this inequity for lots of different issues in lots of different ways in lots of different departments. That this is like the tip of an iceberg, and we need to fix this iceberg because it's a problem. Okay, So, yeah, so here, I'm gonna do a stack. I saw Emily, we're just gonna go Emily, Leah, Ellie, Jen.
Mine's pretty quick. I've just heard this concern raised over and over again throughout this budget process, that if we grant one thing to one department, if we recognize one need, then we will be obligated to then recognize that need for any other person that comes. I was raised on the phrase, fair does not always mean equal. And that's from two Reagan Republicans. Like, there is equality and there is equity. There is addressing genuine needs and bringing them up to par and using the means that we have at our disposal to do that. And then there's addressing larger departments that we can do down the road. I don't think that we should wring our hands at, oh, well, who's gonna come down the pike next? Let's do the next right thing. That's my thought.
Thank you. In my house, raising a child, a teenager, on the wall, I wrote a long time ago on a piece of paper, the exception to the rule is not the new rule. And I know personally that it is really hard to sit here and go, yeah, we did it for so-and-so, but I don't want to do it for you, or we can't do it for you. I totally agree. So I'm happy to support this tonight, but I do wonder if there's something that the county executive or administration or something over there could send out to the department head saying, we are going to be looking at this. This is a systemic issue. Please do not come to us with this sort of thing right now because the budget is like so tight. And we are going to take care of this with a goal of, I don't know, 2025 or 2026, whatever. I mean, just to hopefully communicate and forestall some of the requests.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
That is the broken record that I live in, and I can tell you right now, it's not going to change anything. You do what you think is best, but there is one decision that if you do make it, you are going to get flooded with requests going forward. Like, it's just going to be constant requests. And I also just want to reiterate that the plan to fix this is not an abstract thing. Like, I have a very concrete plan. I just need to get through the budget process. I plan on talking with you about it in November. And I really foresee us fixing this issue in 2024. Whether we are able to do all of the salary adjustments through the whole scale, I don't know. But we can definitely get started on the really egregious stuff in 2024 and budget for the rest of the stuff in 2025. But I very firmly see this problem being resolved in the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay, so on our stack, we have Ellie, then Jen, then Jeff. Ellie.
Michelle just answered my primary question, which was the timeline on fixing the systemic issue. So, thanks.
My comments changed a little bit. Now I'm a little torn because, Michelle Jett is really, really smart. But I will say, last time we met as a body, we talked about how it was easier to work with requests when elected officials came to us with their own skin in the game. And that's what we're seeing with this request tonight. So now I'm torn. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Jeff.
Thank you. And I appreciate the judge being first to the market, or first to the table, right? At least he's advocating for his department directly, and I appreciate that for what the judge is doing. And I agree with Emily on her point of view, and which I didn't know you were so blessed to be raised by Republicans. That's wonderful. So anyway, maybe you'll return to your roots. Who knows? Anyway, so not in your lifetime. Okay, so anyway, I agree that there'll be consequences for this, right? But then I think each one needs to just stand on its own merit. And right now, I believe the board sees the merit of this case. And we don't know what's going to happen downstream or what the merits of the other cases are or how egregious they may or may not be, because right now I don't know. And I'm looking forward to the plan. And so the consequence of this carries on forever and ever, right? It's not just for this year. It's, okay, I want to make sure that's correct. But nevertheless, I do support this amendment, or maybe I'll second the motion that my colleague here said. But anyway, I agree with Emily. You can put that on the record.
Diane? Real quick, I think what we're saying here, in a couple of people are feeling that we have to do this on a case-by-case basis. And we also have to stay within the guidelines of our budget and other things. And it's going to be hard to say no, but there's times when we tell our family members or our kids no, and they just have to wait a little bit. It looks like, and it sounds like, that we will have a plan down the road for the larger departments that have a bigger spread of inequities. However, this smaller amount is something at this time I think we could handle and start with a good faith showing that everybody involved, the department and the board, are willing to try to do something if it is within our remains of being very fiscally sound at the same time. Judge?
Oh, I just want to make a brief comment. You know, as a judge, even before I was a judge, I always tried to follow the rules. And I don't come to this board very often, and I don't make requests very often. When you have time limits, I follow the time limits. When you have deadlines, I follow your deadlines. I told you at my budget meeting, I'm going to do a budget amendment. It's going to be a small one. I'm living up to my word to you as I am to my staff. I can't speak for other departments, especially the larger ones. They may not have this issue that you are even aware of, because we don't lose very many people in the court system, the court clerks. We really don't. Some of these other departments, as you saw with the vacancies, they have a lot of vacancies, they have a lot of money, and a lot of department heads are doing MOUs that you may or may not even know about to correct this situation. I just happen to not have much money because I don't lose people that often, so I'm coming to you asking for this small round. I think it's great that Ms. Jett and everybody are going to maybe look at this as a big picture, but you may not see it's as big of a problem because those bigger departments have more vacancies and more money to play around with, so they don't even have to come to you. So I just thought I'd let you know that.
Oh, I'm aware. Very much aware. And that's part of the problem, is that instead of actually fixing things, like, so that the problem doesn't perpetuate itself, they just fix it with like savings they've got, and that doesn't actually fix the job classifications or, right? So it's really the problem, and if any, actually, it makes it worse in some ways. Just so I have clarification, if we do this, are you going to also then need to amend the budget for 2024 up by this dollar amount?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I just also want to clarify on the MOU thing. Per the ordinance that we passed earlier this year, if a department head signs an MOU promising money that they're not actually allocated in their personnel budget, the MOU is voided. So, you know, they may be messing around with money that they have,
right,
but they cannot be promising things that they cannot afford this year or in the next fiscal year based on the standard percentage increase that they would have gotten anyway. So I don't want it to sound like it's that kind of problem.
No,
it's
no.
not that kind of problem.
But to the judge's point, quite a few of these departments have vacancies every year, so
yes,
it never rises to the level that we find out about it, right? Okay, so all of that said, I just want to be clear. I'm going to vote no because, and this is not at all reflective to the people in these positions, I 100% believe they deserve the money, and I 100% believe that it's unfair. I, however, as finance chair, need to somehow send a message throughout the land to everybody else that this is not us ringing a dinner bell for them to come eat. That said, I also think some of you made really good points, and everybody should vote how they want to vote. But I just wanted to explain my vote Because I feel as finance chair, I should be looking at things on a system-wide policy level, because somebody has to. Right. Okay. Kyle?
Yeah, I just want to just add real quick. Yeah, it's true. Other departments might come and complain, and any good department head complains very well. And I think that you know, it's our position to make the choices when it comes to spending. And somebody on this side of the room, I'm not sure it was, said that, you know, we should look at the merits of each case. And when we look at this, all departments do important stuff, but I think things involving the courts and the justice system do really important stuff. Each court has one clerk, correct?
Each judge has a clerk, then we have an extra one who's swing for vacations and holidays and sickness.
So, I mean, it's really, you know, there are departments that obviously we can afford, unfortunately, vacancies in, and they can still operate, but this is not one of those situations. So I think that it's important to do this.
One of the other things, and then we discussed, and I'm just going to stop talking, we discussed this in our caucus, is we have between the public defender, the court, the circuit clerk, and the state's attorney, very similar job titles in very wildly different job classifications. And one of the things we need to look at is sort of sorting all of that out. So when people move from job to job, that it isn't causing these issues. Because that is one of the problems. And that's not the judge's problem. It's that each of our entities sort of act completely independently of one another. And so sometimes the job classifications don't make sense put together. And there is movement. And we should want there to be movement because people should be able to have careers at the county, you know what I mean, not just jobs. All right. The motion on the floor right now is simply for the $2,684 severed from the retirement of $11,405. So it's just for the, basically the retention money. To take care of that disparity. So we've already moved, so all those, no more discussion, all those in favor? And opposed? There's a few opposed, but the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up.
So then what happens with the November, with the 11,000?
Oh, sorry, we have to go back then to the original motion. The original motion, which is now just the $11,000, I believe Mr. Farney moved that we postpone it to November. Did we have a second on that motion? Second, Ms. Taylor. Discussion on postponing that to November?
Point of order.
Yes.
We voted on amending the original motion to the 2,000 whatever amount, so now we have to vote on that.
We did.
We voted to amend it.
Oh, we voted to amend it.
Uh-huh.
So technically, the 11,000 part doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, you're
Exactly.
right.
So we can just
Stop.
instruct the court to send us a new amendment for next month.
Yeah, so we'll, instruct, Judge, so if you can, based on what we just did, we made the 11,405 go away altogether, maybe not intentionally, but that is what we just did. So if you could prepare that memo for us for January, like when we usually do retirement payouts. Thank you. Okay. All right, so that take care of that. So now we have to vote on the we voted on the amendment. Sorry, now we're going to vote on the amended motion. All those in favor, or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it, moving. That was a little bit too Robert's Rules of Order for me. Next up, we have the treasurer's reports for July and August, and then we have resolutions. I'm going to use these as an omnibus. Resolution authorizing the cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on a mobile home permanent parcel 040060143, same 040060236, permanent parcel 040060307, permanent parcel 290500077, and permanent parcel 300580260. Do I have a motion? Mr. Farney and Beth, second, sorry. Discussion, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The auditor reports for August is on Regional Planning Commission. This is just an FYI. Apparently, the business you want to be in is indoor climate research. In the budget, they told us they got a $5 million grant. By $5 million, they meant 12. They went to a meeting and they're like, we have more money for you. So they just wanted to let us know because that's a sizable difference from, so for anybody looking for a career field, apparently indoor climate research and training is the career field. That's right now. Next, and I have to admit, I am not clear. Do we have to move to put the budget on file? Is this something we have to vote on, Megan?
You have to vote to move it forward to county board.
Move it forward to county board. Okay. So we have fiscal year 2024 budget to be put on file. Do I have a motion for that? Kyle, Beth, sorry. Beth is like, just kidding. A discussion. Yes. Okay, sorry. Yes was ambiguous. Mr. Storr and then Leah. Chris and then Leah.
Okay, is this the appropriate time to take up
Sure.
treasurer and collector's memorandum?
Sure. So just some background here. We considered positions at the last month's meeting. At that time, afterwards, every elected official wanted to know what we decided. I told the treasurer what we decided. We had a discussion, and she said she totally understood that we couldn't give her another position, but is there any way we could help her at all? And I said, well, give me a memo on what would help me and give it to me by Tuesday. So she did. I don't think she anticipated it was going to be passed out to us today. Like, I just asked her I think I had the conversation with her I forget, late last week. And I said, could you get it to me by Tuesday? Megan, because she's awesome and proactive, was CC'd on it, so she printed it for us, which is great. I didn't know, the treasurer isn't here today. I don't think she was anticipating we discuss it, but she wanted us to consider, is there any way we could give her some help? So it is an appropriate time. We're putting the budget on file. I think it would probably be helpful to the administration if we're interested in doing this, that we let them know. But I wanted to let you know why CJ isn't here. I don't think, she just put this memo together, and then my thought was I would send it out to all of you. I probably should have thought that we would discuss it today, but I honestly didn't. Yeah.
Just real quick, I thought we had made an adjustment for that department already within the budget. And if not, I know we gave them extra ARPA money, and I thought that was a one-time thing, and then she was going to make that adjustment in her budget that we would already have in this summary.
Did we give them additional money?
I believe we did, and I believe she hired an additional person, like a person who kind of came on as extra help and has stayed with the department, I believe is my understanding. But I mean, I think they still, especially during tax payment time, are overwhelmed.
Do you know how much money that was by any chance?
I can go look.
Okay.
Sorry, just to follow up, I thought it was somewhere in this range. How many people are in that department now then?
Full-time? I'll let Michelle answer. 4. Oh, I didn't realize she was going to go look right now. Sorry. I didn't realize she meant like I'm physically getting up to go look. So anyway, I mean, we don't have to decide this right now by any way. You know what I mean? We could decide this all the way up until when we pass the budget. If we want to give indication we can make the admin's life easier if we give them some indication that we wanted to, the earlier we discuss this, which is, I'm glad Megan brought it to the board. I'll just be honest, I didn't even really see the emails until about the same time I saw the memo. I was like, oh, because I've been busy today. So, any other discussion? Yes, yeah.
I had kind of a related question. I was just wondering if now is the time that we have to do Judge Rosenbaum's thing as well, because that's going to affect next year, right?
Yes, so we as a board should indicate that we just voted for it, so I'm assuming we're anticipating that that money will continue to 2024. Is that the case? So to the admin, we would like you to put that money in. I do actually have one good news, and it's actually a pretty good news. While we're stalling for time for Michelle to find that dollar amount, if you look at the fund balance for the general corporate fund, which is the fund that we ultimately have the most authority over, I'm sorry, it's on the page 2 at the very top. If you look at the 2024 expenditures to the 2024 revenues, that's where we were over $900,000. When they make the budget, they calculate it on July's sort of personnel landscape. And then when they finalize the budget, they do it on October's personnel landscape. And we had quite a lot of retirements, including some pretty heavy SLEP retirements. And as we all know, the SLEP is pretty expensive. And so the new dollar amount that we're still in the red for 2024, but it's $559,521,000, which is a sizable, I mean, we shouldn't be tap dancing in the streets, but it's a lot better than 900,000. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand the memo, the process. Was this on the agenda for us to discuss?
No, I mean, we're just discussing the budget right now, and this would be, if we want this to be included, it would be included in the budget.
For next year?
For next year. This is for fiscal year 2024. Yeah.
All right, and then, I guess I have a challenge with this. My one challenge is, I pulled the settlement sheets for the taxing districts today, and I'm just only going to talk about one of the 500 settlement sheets. So in County Board District Number 1, there's about 35 taxing districts. And I'm still not understanding why the treasurer is not fully dispersing the dollars collected. And as far as I know, she hasn't fully addressed that adequately. And so I guess I have a beef with this. Frankly, I do. At least if there's 35 taxing districts and their taxes have been collected and they're not being dispersed, and according to the Illinois statutes, consolidated statutes, there's no provision to withhold money. So I would like the treasurer to explain that. And I don't understand why the treasurer just couldn't explain this one also. So that's my comment. Thank you.
I will say that the treasurers forever have at various times held back. Now, I'm not saying that that's statutorily appropriate, but all treasurers going back for a very long time have held back disbursements based on collections, right? So if that's a question you have, I think the treasurer should, be able to, should respond. But that's, if you're asking for interpretation of a statute, we as a body should be asking the state's attorneys, civil side, for that interpretation. Because this is not an this treasurer isn't implementing an interpretation that's new. Do you see what I'm saying? It's that sort of withholding has happened since I've been on this board, right? So if that's your question, the interpretation of the statute, I would say, I don't know that we want the treasurer to, I mean, yes, it's the treasurer's policy, but I don't know that we should be asking the treasurer to respond to a matter of law. We should be asking the civil side state's attorney. If what you're asking for is an interpretation of statute, I would direct your question to both the treasurer's office and the civil side state's attorney. That's just my suggestion. Yes?
No, I'm not asking for interpretation. I'm really asking for the treasurer to follow the law. That's what I'm asking for. Even though it may have not been done for ever since this county existed, I'm just expecting every elected official to follow the statutes as written. That's my expectation. Whatever past history is, it doesn't really matter to me.
I admire your confidence in your understanding of state statutes. You have, multiple times, you have a lot of confidence in your interpretation of state statutes on committees that I've served on. I enjoy it. Do you have an answer to that earlier question, Michelle?
Yes, I don't have any record of them being allocated ARPA funds. So if it was not a significant amount of money, maybe it was just straight out of the general corporate fund, which would not easily be accessible to me. I could dig around and try to find that, but it doesn't look like it was actually ARPA money. So I'm wondering if maybe the first time around you allocated funds with the intent of giving her an additional position that she then kept indefinitely, because I believe that's what's happened. But I'm not 100% sure on that piece.
Can you do a little bit more research on that? And then, because I don't know that we can give a recommendation to the board. I do know we gave help. I remember we gave help, but I don't know that I thought it was perpetual. I thought it was like digging out of a hole type of situation help. I don't know if it was perpetual. So if you could track that down. And sorry, that means we can't, I would be of the opinion then we can't give you direction on this at this time until we have that answer.
That's fine. I'll have that for the meeting next week.
Okay.
I do recall that it was a similar request for this at the similar time last year, where they were being slammed by people coming in person to pay taxes, and they needed to hire hourly employees to make up the difference and try to get that load down. I don't know where the money came from, but I do specifically remember that it being for extra help in that office.
And I will say, I mean, I think there's been broad recognition that especially to comparable counties, that office is understaffed. And I do appreciate the treasurer is willing to work with us and to come up with a solution that isn't a full position that includes benefits, right? I mean, that would be a lot more money than this. So I did want to throw that out there. And it's a worthwhile discussion. Any other discussion about the board, or I'm sorry, about putting the budget on file at this time? Yes, Mr. Storr.
Thank you. So are we going to include this with the, no?
Not at this time, until we have some clarification, unlike the history that we all lived through a year ago, but apparently can't remember. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so just for those of you following along, it will be on the full board, and then at the full board, we don't adjourn, adjourn, we just recess, and then the final budget will be in November. Hopefully by then, any other issues will have been shaken out. This has been the most interesting budget process since I've been on the board, let me tell you. Okay, next up, Veterans Assistance Commission. We had asked several questions of our liaison to the Veterans Assistance Commission as a finance committee, with the idea that you could report back to the finance committee, and just were curious if you had any insights on those issues.
Thank you for that request. Yeah, I have a couple items. And I don't like reading those statutes like anybody else, but I also read all the statutes associated with the VAC, and I've read and reread and talked with the state's attorney today about that. That's one of the follow-up items today, based upon my understanding, but it's just my understanding. So item number 1. Are these efforts to ensure that the veterans do receive direct assistance through the VAC can learn about the services that will be provided through the Stop the Violence Initiative? How will the outreach be accomplished? So on that question, how the outreach is being accomplished is still in flight. But the target date is the 2nd of December to have the first conference or first meeting to present the program to the public. And that will be in Rantoul. And that's on the 2nd of December. And then also tomorrow, the leader of this program, Robbie Walker, is meeting with the community development group tomorrow, somewhere between 3:30 and 5 o'clock tomorrow. And then, so that sort of answers number one, but not 100%. But at least shows that the group is moving in a direction, in a positive direction. Then number two is the needs assessment. And I had a great conversation, I had a conversation with Robbie today, and I believe he's meeting with Michelle and somebody else on Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, Kathy from ARPA and
Okay,
RPC.
so Kathy
Yeah.
and Michelle are meeting on ARPA related to the needs assessment. And I want to just explain my understanding of the needs assessment. I 100% agree a needs assessment needs to be done. And it should be done, and I've explained to Robbie how to accomplish the needs assessment. It's really not, well, anyway, I've explained to him how it's possible and what different avenues and methods he can use to accomplish a needs assessment. I think where the Stop the Violence program hesitancy on this part is they thought it was not a precondition for the award, but to be addressed after the award. So that's where I think there's some disconnect, which I assume will be resolved on Thursday. And I can see you're jumping to say something, but that's what he is understanding. And I've had a number of conversations with them about how to accomplish a needs assessment. So maybe there'll be some more discussion on Thursday. Michelle, what's your thought?
My thought was just, and maybe my interpretation was wrong, so feel free to correct me. But I thought I had heard it pretty clearly when the ARPA decision was made that part of the point to the ARPA funding to the program was to do the needs assessment so that after that program ended, the VAC and the board would know what to continue funding going forward. So if I'm wrong in that, I can adjust that with him, but that was what my understanding was, and that's why I was having a follow-up conversation with him.
I would agree. There was no idea that the needs assessment would be a precondition of the funding. Part of what they said is they could use some of the funding to do it. The specific question, though, that we asked was, how is the needs assessment going to include questions from the VAC? Do you see what I'm saying? So right. Okay, but like, so that liaisoning is happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not running the program.
Right.
That should be part of the program, needs assessment. All venues, whether
Mhm.
the VAC or
Right.
other venues that are tied into this.
Right.
Which the next one is the mental health question.
Right.
But all that needs to be tied together in the needs assessment. I think it's just, there was a disconnect on precondition versus award contract.
Right.
So they're more than committed to do the needs assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think where maybe Robbie and I got a little disconnect was, because the ARPA award was less than what their original budget was for, they needed to redo the budget. And in that process, I said and make sure it includes the needs assessment component as that was clearly stated by the board. So I think it's not that it's a precondition, it's that it's a part of the intent of the funding. So that was my understanding.
All right, good. I think we'll all be on the same page with this. That's good, though. It's good to have that discussion.
Thanks.
Go ahead. You got another question?
Nope.
All right, so item number 3. I reached out to the state's attorney's office today, actually, and had a conversation with Matt. And he is going to look further into this. I have an action just to give more materials related to the Stop the Violence program. And then he's going to compare and then look at what the statute says, or the requirements of the statute, which there's really, I think there's 3, right? There's the county's code on the levy, and then there's the actual code itself for the establishment of the Veterans Commission. And then number 3, there's also the public aid code and how that all ties in together and how they all merge together, and then what can or can you not do associated with going further through the VAC or through the VAC funds to support an ongoing program. So I think that's where we are today. I think that won't be further advanced till probably the springtime on that issue. So I talked with Matt about that, but he's going to help with that. The last one is on the mental health. And so Lynn and I had a great conversation, and we talked about, and then your point here about the auditing and auditing requirements, and we talked about that. And so we still are going to have further conversation related to that, but we did talk about it, and there may be a possibility that there could be some dovetailing or some kind of coordination down the road associated with the mental illness. Sorry, it's these braces that cause me. Sorry, I get only 2 more months, I'll be out of them. So anyway, with the mental wellness and the continuing program with supporting veterans with PTSD. So we're going to have further conversations, and that I think is going to be further developed in the springtime. And she mentioned to me that there's some rule changes or law changes associated with how that program is being audited and what they can and cannot do.
And my understanding is she needs clarification from the state's attorney's office because the mental health board doesn't provide fundings for something that has a dedicated revenue stream. So if the VAC funding can go to fund this, the mental health board won't. If the VAC funding cannot fund this because Matt tells us statutorily they're not allowed to, then the mental health board would probably be a good avenue. Is that a correct
Yes, that's
assessment?
exactly, because I
Okay.
guess the key point she said a couple times was
Right.
not taxing
Yeah,
people
so
twice.
so she had asked for clarification
Yep.
from the SA's office, right?
Yep.
That's when when she saw the memo, I think she brought it up at her part of the board budget. Thank you for that. Anybody have any questions to Mr. Wilson? Seeing
Your
that,
last item on there, you said if anybody had any additional questions, feel free to shoot me an email or
Yep.
anything like that. That's fine. And
Awesome.
do you want to target like March for an update?
sure, that sounds good.
Okay.
That would be good. We just want to make sure that we're staying on top of that. Then the last thing is increase revenue options. We brought a presentation to you as a board last time. You've had a month to sit with it. The admin asked if anybody had any feedback or would like to comment or have any questions or would like to request any more information about any of this. Yes, Ms. Trapp.
I thought we had pretty much bipartisan support on the public safety tax, right?
So would you all at this time like us to ask the SA's office to do we don't want to give the SA's office work unless we're really interested in it. Would we like to ask the SA's office to do the work to make sure that we have clear on like statutory requirements in terms of language and timing? Not saying that we're for sure going to do it, but do we want to limit that to public safety sales tax, or do we want to include anything else? Emily? Okay, so you want to, okay. Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
Diane?
Just real quick, I think generally speaking, that would be the one that we would probably be the most successful with. Anything else is going to be very, very difficult, especially with school boards and everybody else asking for funds through real estate taxes. It's got to be an across-the-board thing. I think it would also bring us a little more in line with what Champaign and Urbana are doing, and therefore it might be an easier project that we could all get behind with a little more fervor.
Emily?
We've got to share, girl. I would say if we're considering options, it seems a little silly to put all of our eggs and collective effort into one basket. Let's have some options here. If we're going to look at one option, let's at least look at 2 side by side so we can compare.
Okay, so we have 2 requests. I'm preliminarily in agreement with Diane, but I do agree that, I would say timing-wise, we should probably try to come up with a plan by the end of this year. So as we move into 2024, so this would be the time to ask that. Any other thoughts? All right, oh, Emily.
One more thought. If we hit a snag with our favorite option, then we are back to square one. But if we run two concurrently, then we don't lose any steam if one falls through. That's my last.
Yeah. Wait, what was that? Sorry.
I mean, I agree with getting the information. First off, I'm all in favor of getting the information, but from a pragmatic approach, if people are going to vote no on one, they'll vote no on two. And so I'm just.
Oh, no, I don't think
Okay.
she's saying,
Okay.
she's just getting research,
Yeah,
not two
yeah,
on a
that's right.
ballot.
Okay, that's
Oh, no,
what it
no,
sounded
no,
like.
no,
So I was like,
no,
oh,
no,
that's-
yeah,
that-
no.
I want to see something to be successful.
Right.
And we need to put all of our effort into the thing that's going to be
Right.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
Okay. Any other, okay. All right. I don't have any other business. Seeing none, I don't have a chair's report. Designations of items to be put on the agenda, 9A2 and 9B.
It's 9A1.
I meant 9A1, I'm sorry. 9B, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, seeing no other business, I call this meeting adjourned.